It's a theme we've covered since our very first show about China's coercion of Japan, and that's Allied support for Tokyo. Former Japanese Ambassador Yamagami Shingo, writing in The Australian again, is calling for more support from Canberra for Tokyo. In the article, Where is Australia in Japan's hour of need? Yamagami ends with, when Australia came under tremendous pressure from China and was subject to similar economic coercion, Japan stated out loud that Australia was not walking alone. Is it too much to expect the same from our Aussie mates in times of need? Michael, so given what we just discussed, what are the dangers of countries like Australia? But we could also say, how about the UK, Canada, how about Italy, who is building this next generation fighter with Japan and the UK, putting trade relations with China ahead of standing with Japan?
Well, I think since Ambassador Yamagaki's article, the Australian Defence Minister, Richard Marles, went to Tokyo and did make a statement about the recent incidents, calling it deeply concerning what China has done with their military in the Okinawa waters. So I think Australia has stepped up. We can debate whether it's enough or to what extent. But I'll say also that Australia is feeling the pressure, too, of Chinese coercion. Australia is feeling the Chinese naval exercising in waters closer to Australia than ever before. So, they understand, or they should understand, that it's not Japan feeling the threat only, right? China is in every other neighborhood in the region, including Australia's front yard. And speaking of trade, right, Australia should also understand it better than anyone else, having been the victim of China's, trade punishment, as I mentioned earlier, just for calling for an investigation into the origins of COVID. So yes, it's very important that countries, not be too singularly focused on, let's have good trade relations with China, and disregard everything else, right?
Raymond, haven't we all been here before? I thought that what had happened was there was the realization that security trumps economy.
I think actually Japan is not standing alone. Of course, the support from U.S. is to a very, very substantial level. And also Japan is helping the ASEAN countries and with the coalition and coordinated action from Australia. So actually the allies building is still continuing, given no matter what's happening in Washington. And I want to emphasize another recent development is speaking up from the ASEAN country, for example, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, and about the point of solving this, staging down this and resolve this peacefully. And also Vietnam sent its naval ships to pass to transit through Taiwan just now. And you see that, so of course we see back and forth from the different governments of the different countries, but taking as a whole, across all the allies, I think of course they are in different stages of awareness about threat, but overall they are progressing on building and strengthening their alliances.
It seems to be that Tokyo, they would like to have more louder, as the former ambassador said, support.
Yes.
On the international stage, there has been silence. Other than perhaps Defence Minister Marles from these Western, for example, allies.
Sometimes it's containing a more sophisticated signals. For example, the signal about the Minister of Defense of Japan saying about the unprofessional maneuvering, being the radar lock on the Japanese jets. That will immediately remind everyone in this circle about the maneuvering against Australia, for example, about their reconnaissance on jets in the South China Sea. Also about the laser, using the laser to target on the Coast Guard in the Philippines. So I think in those signals, I think not only about the volume of the diplomatic message, but a reminder of the common threats we face. That also contains the call for help or call for the need for the strengthening the alliance.
Come on, hasn't it all been drowned out by China's, very shrill and aggressive, wolf warrior-like statements. That appears to be the narrative that is carrying, or is that not the case?
Well, I think the little baby in the sandbox, which is China, is crying for getting some sand in between its toes. And every time something happens, they scream and yell, and they make propaganda, and they do things. And so what we saw was the escalatory actions by the Consul General in Osaka from China, attacking and mentioning that it would be good to behead the Prime Minister of Japan. Mm-hmm. This is the wolf warrior part that you mentioned. Yeah. Okay, and so they have the diplomatic and the propaganda part, and then you have the military dimension coming into play. And so what happened was the U.S. met that military reaction and gave China an opportunity to de-escalate. Okay, but I think in the big picture of things, the fact that the U.S. did something when we all know that Trump is going to meet with Xi in April. So the assumption in China was that Trump wouldn't do anything until April. So because the United States did something, it doesn't work. But I think it's a big important thing to mention.
Mm. You talked about the U.S. met China's military aggression.
Right.
It didn't do it diplomatically. Are you saying that is because Trump does not want to throw off the rails this meeting with Xi Jinping? I mean,
okay,
what is he scared of?
I would mention the fact that the the ambassador in Japan did attack China for what was said by the Consul General.
But nobody in Washington. There's been silence from Washington.
But again, the level, you have to understand the level, right? It's a Consul General of China in Osaka. You don't need to have the president respond to a Consul General.
But it's been a lot more than just share gens.
Right, what I'm saying is you have to also understand that if you start you start having the president speak, then who's above that? So that's escalation.
Marco Rubio. There's,
Right, you're right. There are
Pete
other.
Hegseth.
I'm just saying that the government of the United States, which I don't represent, decided to have the U.S. ambassador in Japan to respond to this event. Again, trying to calm down and meet the threat, but not escalate. But you don't have Xi Jinping saying anything about this.
No, but you have Wang Yi saying things. He's the foreign ministry.
Right.
The equivalent would be Marco Rubio.
Correct.
And it's all targeted at Takaichi. Raymond.
We're taking into consideration about the political assessment that there were signs that China don't want to escalate it. For example, the minister of the Chinese foreign ministry, when they show a cold shoulder to the Japanese delegate, immediately the next day he traveled himself to Dalian to put a message to the Japanese business communities there. So the expectation is that Chinese itself, they themselves are trying to find a stepping down and de-escalate. But the things got messier because of this naval maneuver. But naval maneuver, because it took time to prepare. So it might happen in the time of the diplomatic escalation. So I think the parties are waiting for the Chinese themselves to step down from this tension. Mm-hmm. So that might play a role into the so-called silence from the DC.